What does it mean to trust? It means to have such inner knowing that your thoughts create your world, to simply be quite certain, with divine nonchalance and inner knowing, that if you think of something, it is. Emotion is the key to all of this. As human beings, you need emotion to connect you with your spiritual self, because emotion generates feeling. You need emotions to comprehend the non-physical, which is why emotions have been so controlled upon this planet. Most human beings are afraid of their emotional or feeling center. They are afraid to feel. Trust your feelings no matter what they are. When you are not afraid of feeling and you move past judgment and allow yourself to feel all the ways you feel, you will have a tremendous breakthrough. You must learn to love your emotions. As if you are not human, because to us, you are not. To us, you are members of the family of light.
Oh, well, that was one of the nicest opening songs we've had in a while, especially since I've been awake for 5.5 hours. I needed although I got a little of that this morning, actually a lot of that this morning. But I'm gonna grab one particular piece of that opening, kind of like loving your feelings, trusting your feelings. For me right now, the energy is high. And it's not, I'm doing a better job of managing like the high sort of space, but also that's part of who I am is when I get inspired and motivated, I elevate kind of. There's almost like a transcendent state that my alter ego goes into. And right now I think it would be the phoenix in the fire flow element of our regenerative philosophy. And so I'm trusting in that. I used to, like, I've always woken up at 3 a.m. Not like every day, but it's just been this thing that consistently happens to me. And sometimes I can just fall right back asleep. And other times it's completely hopeless. And today was one of those days I was like, that's not happening. I'm getting up. And, sometimes in our space, this idea of self-sustainability and wellness and all these things, things say that that's like, it's not good. You need rest. You need, routine and consistency and this, that, or the other thing. Well, sometimes those things are just a pathway to judging ourselves and being too hard on ourselves. Like, Chance, why can't you figure out this sleep thing? Or you're waking up at 3 a.m. because you're inspired. Why don't you do something with it? Why don't you use it? Right? And so I've been leaning into that a little bit, and I've had like a thunderous, like rolling set of epiphanies come at 3 a.m. while sitting in a rainstorm. And I've done some good work. And this morning I climbed a tree for the first time in a really long time, and actually have like a whole plan for this like cool little like secret getaway in one of our trees that I'm gonna build. So stay tuned on that. But all that to say, this idea of trusting ourselves very easily leads to loving ourselves. And one of the other things I want to mention in my opening before I hand it off to the brightness to pilot the viridescent mothership off into Wonderland, is that yesterday we had our Sales Fox Hero Band come together, and we got into a conversation around kind of regenerative economics and love, meaning LUV, liminal universal values, and how we measure the health of the Viriverse and Viridescent as an alter business. It all starts with loving ourselves, trusting our small little hero bands, loving each other, But I'm realizing that the Viriverse is a place that transacts in love. And I couldn't be more thrilled that that's the case. And it's a wonderful way to head into the trust microsphere today. And then one other thing that I'll add before I let go of the steering here um, is just a little bit of like a hero guide training moment as I start to operate in service of all of you and in service of the Viriverse and kind of getting me out of the way. It's done through educating you what some of these things are. So trust is now a microsphere in the Viriverse, and microspheres are kind of places, kind of this thing that can kind of like wrap itself around us or come from within or be given to us that represent a human state of mind or emotion. Those are microspheres, and they're around us all day, every day, right? And we're going to go into trust specifically in this one. And then for one of our new guests, or not new, but returning guests, the witch is back. Yay. So thrilled to have Paz coming back in with us, especially given that Paz means peace, as we've learned in the past. And we're feeling a little bit of peace energy. Intense peace energy, but peace energy nonetheless, is that the brightness has stepped into an official hero guide role, and as of right now is the lead guide for Wonderland. And I'm glad the provocateur is here because I think he'll be a partner in wonder at some point along the way, and various points along the way. So yeah, let's go, brightness. Let's do this thing.
Thank you so much, Chance. Well, first I would like to start with the song. It was Ace of Cups by Ella Stream, which was wonderfully picked out by you, Chance. I'd love to start with opening the floor and asking what your thoughts were on the song were, and if it stirred anything in you or caught your attention. Any thoughts on that? Or Chance, did you want to say something, Paul?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm always intrigued by music that has spoken word as opposed to singing. And yeah, there was a lot there in terms of leaning into your emotions, leaning into feelings, leaning into this idea of trust. So yeah, I was just kind of taken by listening to the words, which for a change I could actually understand. So yeah, it was a good choice, really a good opening.
Oh, yeah. No, it was definitely new to me. I don't usually hear songs like that, but it definitely, when Chance recommended it, it definitely spoke to me. I'd love to know, Chance, what made you choose that song per se?
Yeah, I mean, there's like a structural element to it, I guess, that it came out of our regenerative philosophy playlist that we've been building for a while, that has over 60 hours of music in it, I think, at this point. And those are then organized down into the particular elements of the regenerative philosophy. And so I think this one made it down into ice intellect, is where I have this one sitting, but I think it can be in a lot of places. It could be love lives. It could be magic moves, because there's a lot of like emotion and feeling in that as well. So yeah, structurally, that's how I came across it. It's also been really alive for me because trust is my word of the year, right? And so there's that. And then I think to Paul's bit there, I am a huge fan of music that has spoken word in it, and a lot of my favorite type of music, such as like down tempo electronic and such, has a lot of this kind of thing in it. And it's such a grounding, presencing sort of music, right? And so like with yoga, it's wonderful. It can even be a gateway into meditation as well. So yeah, that's why I think it's a beautiful art form. And honestly, I want to make it someday at some point in the Viriverse, in the music realm. And we're going to.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys, for sharing. Well, speaking of meditation, We're going to shift now into a short presencing ritual just for 1 minute to help us ground and connect with ourselves before we move into our next part of the journey together. So if it feels right for you, allow a sense of trust to begin to arrive. Trust in yourself, in this space, in this process. You can turn off your cameras if you feel called to. Close your eyes and take a deep breath in through your nose and exhale gently through your mouth. Now just breathe naturally and let your body settle. We'll stay in this quiet space together for 1 minute, starting now. That was 1 minute. Gently bring your attention back to the space around you. Take a deep breath in, stretch if that feels good to you. Exhale slowly and take a moment to appreciate yourself for being here just as you are. And when you're ready, open your eyes. How was that? That's okay. We don't need to speak. Just being here and being present is in silence is more than enough. So we're going to keep that inner reflection flowing into something a little different, a trust exercise that invites you to follow your intuition and notice what it reveals. So imagine you are standing in front of 3 doors, a red door, a green door, and a blue door. Each one leads somewhere unknown, but your intuition already knows where you want to go. So you have 10 minutes to answer the following 3 questions. Which door do you choose to go through, red, green, or blue? Why did you choose that door? And once you've made that decision, how do you feel now that you've made that choice? So I'm going to put that in the chat and then we'll start. Let me put that in the chat first of all. Second. Yeah. Okay. These are the 3 questions. If that's clear to everyone, we can start now and we'll come back at 56. Okay, we're on for the last minute, so if you guys want to finish up the last thought or sentence and start coming back into the room. Brilliant. Wonderful. So, before I reveal the answers, I would love to know which door you picked and also how did it feel making a decision with very limited information?
I chose the blue door.
Okay.
And I mean, to answer your question directly, I'm just absolutely certain that I chose the right door because I identify deeply with blue. It has a lot of meaning for me. and it feels like it's a door to infinite possibilities with a range of delights and emotions.
Oh, that's amazing. That's great to hear. Awesome. Chance, which door did you pick?
Yeah.
I know you know one of them already, I think.
I mean, well, yeah, kind of, but also I'm not sure that how much of an effect that had on this, and
Okay.
because I kind of went my own way anyway. Imagine that. Uh, I chose the green door, and I was really tempted by all of them. They all appeal to me. They all have value. But what I think I ended up doing is I chose the green door, but brought the others in with me a little bit, or the energies of them. But some of it was because I wanted to celebrate my tree climbing this morning, something I used to do as a child all the time, and so kind of celebrating that. But I also realized like I need more nature to restore my energy and feel my kind of flowing intensity, as I called it, which touches the other doors. Um, for me, nature and or earth ethic, which is the green color under our regenerative philosophy, is like my core. It's everything I am. Like I'm out in the countryside. Like I was born in nature in a lot of ways. And so for me, I think it shouldn't be the escape to catch my breath, but the place I start, go, and finish. And so I think that's what green felt like to me, is it just felt very like grounded, natural, and that's not even a choice. That's the way I exist every day, and I need to lean further into that.
I love both of those answers. Thank you for sharing that. And of course, if anyone else wants to, please, you can put it in the chat if you feel called to. So now that we've reflected and shared, we are ready to discover what
So
place.
before you go, I know brightness, just to see an experiment here. I know you know the answers, but I'm curious. Did you do this before you created the whole scenario? Did you even think about it while you were there? Where did you go?
Oh, I mean, I created it, but I did have a think of going where I probably would have gone. I probably would have chosen the blue door too. That definitely reflects to me. It is one of my favorite colors, and for me, that does mean calming and peace. And again, like Paul said, so many possibilities. So I probably, if I was going into this blind, I would have chosen the blue door too. Yeah. Thank you for asking. I saw that. I think Ella put, I chose blue because it seems so calm, filled with peace, optimism, and hope. Okay, so blue is a very popular choice. Okay, awesome. So now that we've reflected and shared, we are ready to discover what place we've chosen. So let me share my screen, because I want to also share Chance's incredible art. So can you all see my screen? Okay, let me put this down. Okay, so these are the three doors. The first door, we'll start with popular choice, the blue door, which leads to water singularity. So water singularity is a gateway to the water system, home of the deliberate life force, the symbiotic, and the connector. This is a place of surrender and flow. This space invites you to move with intention, trust the current, and release control. Break free from the old and build new ways. Here, you do not have to hold it all. Just breathe and let yourself be in the moment. Before I move on, I wanted to ask Chance if there was anything he'd like to add about water singularity, anything he thinks I missed.
Oh, there totally is. There's like a million things. But I
Yeah.
also, I'm just excited about what you're doing here, and the path you're taking us on. It's immersive sustainability better than I've ever done it before, at least in Wonderland anyway. But I'd be curious kind of to talk about it. Do you want to do that before we move on, Sabrina? I know we have like more depth of conversation as we go, but maybe we take it one by one.
Yeah.
So before I add more to it, I'd be curious what Paul or the Gentle Strength or the Witch find in this. And sorry, provocateur, Paul. Who's Paul? He doesn't exist in Wonderland.
Yeah. Who is Paul?
Who is Paul? Let's spend the next hour talking about who Paul is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, part of what I wrote that I didn't say before was, that that blue certainly is, identified with water. And one of the things I wrote is kind of the infinite blue of the ocean, the infinite depth of the ocean. And to Sabrina's point, the currents of the ocean and the ability to go with those currents and to trust those currents. So yeah, for me, it was both the sky, the blue of the sky, and the blue of the water. But I can definitely see where water singularity ties into the color blue.
Mm.
So before I'm gonna take us over to another visual, Sabrina, and then you can grab the screen back. But
Sure.
I saw Ella put in there, connects with my thoughts 100%. When I think of blue, I think water flow and maybe flow. Interesting. Yeah. Flow and maybe flow. It's like there's one level of flow and then there's flow.
The other thing that's interesting about water and blue is that, there is really such a range of color, from very light blue and aquamarine to very sort of deep blue of the ocean. And it sort of maps to, kind of the depth of different emotions that you can go through in terms of blue as lightness and calm and peace, to blue to very deep blue as like very dark. So there's like that whole aspect to it as well.
That is very interesting, because I'm finding that this is slightly off topic, but I do feel like it resonates, is one of the exercises I have to do for my course is write about the theme blue. And I did think of that being like, oh, blue, that's such a vague theme. But it's very interesting how, like, and maybe bring it back to the exercise of how people look at blue and they may see different things. It could mean blue as in like feeling depressed or dark, but then also blue as in the sky, or blue as in calm, and stuff like that. So many interpretations, which I find fascinating.
Yeah. And the interesting thing about dark blue is that, yes, it could be connected to depression or something, but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be bad. It sort of depends on your perspective and how you view it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can add to that actually. So the blue door for me, these colors immediately, the first kind of layer or level I go to is the elements of regenerative philosophy that they tie to. And so one of them is water weaves. A go with the flow sort of approach, a weave of come, go, and grow, of rest, restore, and pour. And funny enough, that last word, pour, Paul, is connected to your changemaker ability, a collective pour, which we need to revisit and go back to, because we need to kind of deepen that and actually turn it into an actionable thing, I think. We will do that this weekend, though, I think, probably. Because you're in the hero guide role, so you're going to go into some places that others won't be quite ready to do. So that's one of them, I think. But what I think about here with this is that, we talk about like the dark blue. One of the things that I have become such a huge fan of is cold plunging. And cold plunging is a ritual inside of water weaves. And there are times where I'm like really, down, glummy, deep blue sadness if we're there. And then I go jumping in an ice cold lake, 40 degrees or so, and whew, right, refreshed, and okay, I'm out of it. I'm out of the darkness, at least for a moment, right? Or maybe even it gives me the courage to go deeper into the darkness. Who knows? So that's one piece. And then, not surprisingly, this same graphic, the same photography from the creator, is the background to flow. right, to the flow framework, because flow to me is most represented by water weeds. It can go in a lot of them. Fire flow is another one. But this idea of kind of being able to weave between our play, health, love, and work is connected too. So obviously opportunities to go way deeper into these discussions, but just to show you the interconnections and the kind of guiding frames that we have in the Viriverse that can practice blue.
That's amazing. Thank you guys for sharing that. Let's move on. And then what I think is very interesting as I get this ready is that this is an important form of trust, but not the only form of trust. Like, we also have other ways that we can trust. For example, in the red door, which leads to Arches of Ember. So this is a gate deep in the heat of your fire flow. The Arches of Ember allows you to travel beyond your limiting fears and doubts. This is a place of transformation through trust. This gateway invites you to overcome what holds you back. Step beyond your fears and discover joy, play, and purpose. Let trust be your spark. So I don't know if anyone wants to add to that, what everyone's thoughts are of that.
This is such a kick for me. I think I'll start there. Us being on the mothership traveling through these places is really fun. So Arches of Ember is kind of a special thing, and actually it's cool that I'm kind of getting a kick out of this because I found the Arches of Ember with the creator while we were traveling the psychedelia microsphere, a wonderful mushroom adventure by the fireplace in my home, which was the first time I think he'd seen my new house. And we spent the entire day just adventuring with music and a fire and the snow outside and all the things. And this Arches of Ember formed in the fireplace, and it was made by a really special kind of wood. These fir trees that we have, there was wood left over before we moved in, and the people that had whatever trees removed, they had the roots of the trees, or like the base of the tree, in the fire stack. And then we had some trees brought down for safety, both fire resiliency, and they were kind of sick and potentially of danger of like falling over in a windstorm. And that type of wood, like the root system or the trunk of the tree, is such a dense and artistic looking wood. And so the way the fire burned with this was artistic, it was magical, and it took us into some just especially creative places. And actually we drew our experience, and I will find the picture and send it to the Wonderland channel in Discord. But really special. So I'll stop there. I have one more thing I want to share, but I'll pause there and let Paul, as he kind of collects his thoughts about the Arches of Ember and any thoughts he has.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that struck me the most was when you're talking about, fire as transformative, because of course, I'm going to go down a slightly different road in terms of like, there's so many ways in which fire can be transformative, including, every time I turn on my gas stove and cook something, it transforms the food. So there's a lot of different aspects to transformation with fire, I think. And whether you're cooking over an open fire or cooking over a gas stove or cooking over, anything that kind of sparks, a way of transforming is sort of an interesting and delightful thing to think about. I certainly remember, when I was younger and was actually doing more hiking and camping out in the woods and whatnot. And, the most magical moment of the day was sitting around an open campfire, which you can't do anymore in California anyway. Um, and you know, and even, I mean, we don't use our fireplace, even though we have one. It's just, it's kind of a sustainability thing to not, burn wood in California. So it's a kind of a different experience than what you're talking about, Chance, but it still has that fascination and, you know, idea of transformation for me. And and when I can sit in front of an open fire, and we did in New Zealand a couple of times, there were places where there were fireplaces. Um, it's kind of magical. Fire has a magical quality to it in a lot of ways, and hard to describe. But your description of sitting in front of a fireplace and listening to music on mushrooms is very intriguing to me.
Well, we do have our nature retreat coming up. I don't know if there'll be mushrooms with that per se, but there will be an open
Right.
campfire. That I promise you.
Right. Yeah.
So fire flow, of course, right? And Sabrina used so well the spark, a steady burn, a flame of change, a wildfire, harnessing a burning energy, but avoiding burnout to ash. And then the wildfire specific piece in there, of course, that's transformative, right? All of it's transformative when it comes to fire.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, reflecting back to the creator and I's journey into psychedelia with the fire, we actually we did something crazy. We did a couple of things crazy. So I guess speaking to the sustainability issues, right? So in Montana, we don't have the same fire danger that California does. We do have it. Oh, do we have it? But only times of the year or whatever. It also gets much, much colder here. And in our house, we do not have a heat source other than a fireplace down in the main living space of our downstairs. So we need it at the moment, hopefully not forever, but we do need it. But we did something really crazy. We burned a book. We burned a book. Yeah, we burned a book. And it was hard for me, but it was right. It was the right thing to do because we, the creator and also the researcher, had undergone an incredibly difficult chapter of the Viridescent story. A really difficult sort of overcoming that was needed. And we broke through. We got past the bridge troll, which was a huge deal. And there was a book that represented that journey in a really powerful way. And it had to go. And honestly, the contents of this book, I find incredibly problematic in the formation of the machine. And actually, I'll share what it was. It was like the act of power negotiating, I think, or that's something, art of power negotiating. And if it is called the art of power negotiating, it is not an art. I don't think it is something else, something more nefarious than the artistic expression, I think. And so we did it, and it was one of the most powerful things I've ever felt and done. So yeah, transformation. And the next day, it felt like the dawning of a new day. It was special. It was really special.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I would not call power negotiation an art either. I would call it a narcissistic obsession of greed.
Yeah. Yep. And that right you just described there was actually the part of the overcoming that we had to do. And I think you probably know what I'm talking about, Paul.
Yeah, I do.
And thank you for knowing. And brightness, actually, we got to talk about this tale at some point too, because as you come aboard the mothership more fully, it's actually an important thing to share, a part of our soul trust story. So stay tuned.
I look forward to that. Awesome. Thank you guys for sharing that. I also wanted to highlight Ella's comment of very transformational. You just need to trust the process. And I definitely feel like that's something I feel like I'm definitely learning to do, is trust the process. I'm learning to trust, and before I thought that was like surrendering to like the river, and now I feel like I'm on a different path on trust, of learning to trust the fire. Let it do its own thing, but also make sure it's not because sometimes fire can be dangerous, you know. So you need to, I'm learning to like trust the spark of the fire, but not let it go out of control. Let's not have it burn too quickly or something like that. So yeah.
Can I take us off into one other sidetrack?
Sure.
Brightness? Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Because of Ella's note and then the way you built upon it. This in the space of being a systems thinker. So you talked about the very personal and inner part of that, right? The dance with burnout, right? Especially something that the change maker is always navigating. The systems thinker, which is a change maker or a role the change maker can play, needs to be able to see a bigger picture in difficult times, right? And use the wildfire as an example. You know, the forester would look at a wildfire and say, you know what, often this is necessary, right? And that's why they let these fires burn as long as they're not threatening human life. Sadly, though, of course, that means that natural life dies, but that is the way the natural world has always worked, right? Lightning has always struck and started fires and things. And particularly in a world that is rising in climate change, these forests they're going to burn. They have to. That's what the Earth is doing, and they will be more resilient on the other side of that. But it's horrifying, right? For me, right now, I'm in the trees, and this part of our forest has not burned in a really long time. And all it would take is a cigarette butt out the window off the highway that I can see from my house, and right? And oh my God, super disaster is what we're looking at here if that happens. And then a second part of this is the asteroid that is the wielding hammer of Donald Trump right now, right? Just boom, bang, like, you know, a systems thinker at the best of levels can maybe look at this and be a little more zen about all this and be like, you know, this was always going to happen. There was always going to be disruption to this capitalistic system, to our country, to our democracy. Now, is this how it should be done? Probably not. No, he's a bully. He's an asshole. You know, don't like the guy at all. And a lot of people are suffering. But I do think that someone that masters fire flow has the ability to be a little bit zen when the fire is raging and destroying, and knowing that in a bigger picture, maybe we can figure out a way to regenerate in a healthier forest later, right? Even if the forces that are having it happen are nefarious. So I don't know, Paul, what do you think on that? I know this is a rabbit hole, so we won't go all the way down the rabbit hole, but it's worth a comment or two, I think.
Let's not.
Yeah,
there's time for that later.
Yes, we'll have a political realm conversation for the Trump piece specifically.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I think even critics of Trump are admitting and will admit that some disruption and some stepping away from the status quo and looking at the bigger picture as you're framing it in terms of the overall system, there needed to be some change. The way that it's being done, I think, is obviously destructive. But yes, if we're able to step back and look at the long-term picture, some of this change may or may not be good. Who knows? I think we have to wait and see. Right now, I think it all looks bad and feels bad, but time will tell.
Do we have to wait and see, or can we be the change right here, right now, because of it? Right? Can we rise in a time like this? And I saw it when Trump won. A lot of the conversations that I was having with people like you, Paul, and like the Solvents and other members of the Soul Trust, and honestly, just like everybody that has hung out in our world here as of late, there's been this collective like, no, we're going to be good. We're going to be forces of good, and we're going to give to others and create goodness, right? So, obviously that's at a smaller scale. I know at a machine level and economic level, well, who knows what's going to happen.
Well, yeah, that's I guess that's what I mean.
I know you do. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, to your point, yes, I think on a community level and a local level, and all the levels that we've been talking about, that yes, we have to continue to be hope activators and you know, and systems thinkers, and think about a different way of approaching all of this.
And to the brightness is kind of presencing ritual and presence and force and energy. Also be able to just let go of all of it and just be a single little flame sitting in silence and serenity as well.
Mm-hmm.
Fire flow is a complicated element to master, but it can be done.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting that you say flame, because now we've kind of brought it back to it being hope, because sometimes just having that flame in your heart can help bring someone else that hope that either they feel like is dimming or dying, and then just seeing that it can either re-spark theirs. So it's interesting how this conversation has turned out. I really like it.
So actually, one more thing, and then Brightness, I think you're probably ready to take us forward. But one more thing that you all may or may not have seen in the Sales Fox Discord, I shared an image that came to life, and I've got to read it first and then show it to you, just because the way this is laid out right now. But Sales Fox hands others a passion fire to transcend their limiting beliefs and share their value and hope with the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They look pretty content. They look pretty happy,
Mm-hmm.
strong, assured.
That's beautiful.
Passion fire! Let's give out passion fires all over the Viriverse. Let's go!
Well, it's interesting too, because that image, it feels like the one holding the flame is ready to give it, and the one with his paw out is ready to receive it. So there's a nice kind of like synergy and synchronicity there.
Exactly. Awesome. Okay. Let's move on and let's find out what is behind.
What's behind the green door?
The green door, yes. Okay. So, the green door, Wisdom Mountain, located on the Moons of Wisdom, where elves, that is emergent learning facilitators, dwarves and wizards explore life's deeper meaning. Here is a place for growth through reflection and learning. This is the place of becoming, where introspection deepens your knowledge of self. In that depth, trust is born, not as certainty, but as a companion, a quiet, steady guide that walks with you as you learn to meet yourself more honestly. So, yes, now we know. Any thoughts?
The witch chose the green one.
Yeah. Would love to have what you just read. I mean, wouldn't a witch hanging out in a land of wizards, elves, and dwarves make a lot of sense? Oh, man. Yeah. And there's a lot more to this, which I've thought of you in this regard, because you're a writer, I believe, and there's a special connection to writing with all of this. So more to come on that. Yeah, well, she has a way of doing that, doesn't she? That brightness.
Yeah, no, oh, thank you. Yeah, I will definitely put that in the chat. Or you know what, I'll share all the doors in the Discord.
Yeah, let's do that.
And I'll share the slides to that as well, because I want to appreciate that artwork as well, you know, because it's so gorgeous. But yeah, it's very interesting, because I think that relates to the wisdom workshop, and I chose that even before I was part of it. So again, very interesting, that synchronicity that happened there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm starting to feel it's like in my writing, I'm starting to feel like there's so much overlap between this and the wisdom workshop and writing the good life. And it's like, can I just write for one thing and like then bring it into each space?
I think that's the beauty of the Viriverse, though,
Yeah,
provocateur, right?
yeah.
Is that it is interweaving, and one of the things that I think is so powerful about green being wisdom and trust, kind of being the one of the words of the year in the Viriverse and all that, is that we're finally becoming a collective intelligence, or what I like to call a human mycelium here in this world now, which has been 4 or 5 years of clunky making to get there. And so the fact that we are weaving between these spaces and that they are becoming kind of, well, I suppose, woven, right? Interweaving. Speaking of blue and water weaving, we're kind of flowing between these spaces and these places. And it's pretty special. But I also think because green in the Viriverse is, as I went to, earth ethic, right? It's grounded. All of it is very grounded. We said recently in the wisdom workshop that it's like, OMG, we are all like the same person living different lives. And that's a little how it feels, doesn't it? We synergize, we resonate with each other so strongly, and we are building trust together so seamlessly and fluently and comfortably and all that I think that's really special. It's really special. So yeah, earth ethics, standing up for sustainable people and planet. The best of us can heal division, nature, and ourselves, which we just talked about, a driving force of division. By the way, we need a character or a character for Donald Trump in the Viriverse, by the way. We do, because we have like the bridge troll, we have an ego goblin. I think it's probably something, it's probably like the solipsism or the narcissist or something of that nature. But even that doesn't quite touch it. He's a pretty big villain. A villain that needs to be vanquished at some point.
I saw a cartoon the other day of basically Trump leaning over with his head up his ass, and that was like the perfect image for me.
All right, I'm gonna go get something for you, and I'll show you. I've got a couple. Stay tuned. Anything else in the space of green? Brightness, I don't know if you shared or responded. I know the witch put something in if you want to read that too.
Yeah, I was going to highlight that. The funny thing is that I've been experimenting with water/blue a lot recently, but I felt drawn to the green door, so I chose that one anyway, which I love that. I mean, the point is there was no right door. It was an invitation to practice trust, trusting your intuition, trusting yourself, and gaining insight about the process of trusting yourself, where you are in that, I'm not sure I would have been, I mean, it's all for fun, but I'm not sure how I would have been calm. I would have been like, earlier, like I probably, a less evolved version of myself probably would have been like, oh, which door is the right door? And there's not usually a right door, it's just the one that you feel called to, I think, So yeah, that is what I wanted to say. And all three kind of representing, my aim was that all three representing different ways of trusting, because I think they're all important, or at least for me they were important. So maybe,
Yeah, I think what's interesting about this exercise is, to your point, there's no right answer. There's no it could actually be that you would choose a different door on a different day depending on how you're feeling. Although I was pretty absolutely certain that I was going to choose the blue door. But I think there are elements of each of the doors that fit into the flow, that fit into the infinity drawing, that fit into this whole conversation about how things are fluent and flowing. And I mean, all of these elements actually, are so intertwined and interdependent that, I just think all of the doors have something interesting to them.
I'm glad you think that. Thank you.
So that's all super zen, but I'm going to take us into Shadowland by way of the political realm for a second. So this is the making of Pink Floyd, The Wall, and it's the artwork of Gerald Scarfe, who was Pink Floyd's cartoonist. And there's one page in particular that really captures Donald Trump for me.
I can't really see it. Can you stop sharing for a minute?
Oh, yeah. Okay, thank you. Yep, I forgot I was still doing that. Thank you. Now you'll be able to see it. Are you ready?
Yeah. Actually, let me pin you so I can even see it better.
Here is Donald Trump. A monster with dead bodies.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that horrifying? So this is like the kind of beginning work that took Pink Floyd towards The Wall and the album and all that. But the other piece of this, and I'll send this stuff to the Discord too. But this album that I have on vinyl, actually I have two copies of it, a new copy and one from the 70s, is my all-time favorite. And it is very much a story about a character named Pink who builds walls between himself and the things that are scary in the world, right? The overbearing mom, the the abusive teacher, the overreaching government, whatever. And for me, the wall represents the wall between humans and nature, right? The machine, nature, all these things. But one of the things I've been doing with this newer copy of The Wall is my own personal breakthrough with my walls. And the one that I just got to just recently is, let's see, is I had taken a break from this for a while, like over a year, close to 2 years actually, away from these bricks and all these things. And I came back with this. I let go of the wall a while. You can't let go of your destiny though, but you can make a choice on how you fulfill your destiny, to choose with your alter ego, not your status quo ego. But good God, is it hard to be your destiny, hard to be great with Trumpian level ass in your face. But your greatness is the hero to their villain. You're the one to tear down the wall between heroes and villains, even. And so with that, planting a seed, before I throw it back to the brightness to carry us forward again, I would like to host a session kind of like this, but from the political realm. And let's get into this shit. Let's talk about it and be hope activators within it, and talk about how do we rise up and directly stand up to the bully that is Trumpian level ass, but also see maybe the good of where it's coming from, or the goodness that lies in the people that follow what he's doing, right? And how do we heal that division, that left and that right? Because man, is he an anarchist, a disruptor. And honestly, I'm really starting to look at it as, you know what, this has always been coming, and a death is needed of something, and some things are dying. Again, not to justify, rationalize, say any of this is good. Like in the short term, for so many people's lives, like people actually will die because of some of the things that are happening, and have already, right?
Yeah.
So none of that is to say it's good, but the regenerative leader has to be able to stand up in a time like this, right? And be a force for good, an activator of hope, and lead with courage. So let's do that soon. That'd be fun. And horrible and, emotional and all that too.
No, that is definitely.
Let's see. Let's invite the entire community and see who shows up for that conversation.
Just chance. It'll just be me hanging out.
But it's interesting because maybe that's part of, instead of, maybe the political realm is good for that, because maybe instead of like keeping it in here and letting us, like, it's important to feel it, of course, but maybe some of us, sometimes you just need to vent, and just have a safe space to just put that out there. So I don't think I think it can be a good idea. Yeah. So moving on, I just want to move into a deeper dialogue about trust. So, yeah. So I guess my first question is, which Chance has put on the Discord, is what does trust mean to you? I'll put that in the chat too.
What do you think? Do you guys want to do a discussion or do we want to do a quick free write? Maybe like a little lightning strike, right? Like 5 minutes or something?
We can do that. I know the witch already, but I would say something like face. But we can do a free write too.
I don't
It
know.
is a big
Provocateur, what do you think?
I could go either way.
Why don't, you know what? Let's do this. Let's do it in the chat for a minute. Let's riff and off the witch here. And then we'll talk about it. So free
Okay.
write-ish for a few minutes, but in the chat, let's have a conversation in silence. Or well, not silence because I can't help but put on some music. But let's try something new.
Mhm.
So finish maybe last thoughts. Breaking down walls. Letting things go.
I feel like Ella summed up, like that was the perfect end to all of that, letting things go.
There was one that really grabbed me. I think it was yours, Brightness. Taking a step into the boat and allowing the river to take you where you need to go. Sometimes you'll be called to take the oars and steer, but other times you'll need to trust the flow of the stream. You'll also need to trust yourself when to do either action. Something that I've been practicing might be worthy of turning into a ritual. Maybe it's part of, there is a letting go ritual. Actually, maybe it's a sub practice underneath that. Letting go of my phone, but specifically in this case, letting go of time. The need to know what the fuck time it is. And I do this a lot actually, like when I'm in nature and when I'm backpacking and things, I don't pay attention to the time. My phone's off, right? But because we're so out of tune with the natural rhythms of things when we're constantly looking at our stupid phone for the time, and of course then we're like, ooh, notification, dopamine, yay, and it's ridiculous. Same thing with smartwatches and stuff, right? I have one, and for a while I liked it, and then I hated it. Now I've been trying to kind of give it a go again, but I don't know if I'm fit for it or not. But like just trusting myself, like in the morning, like this morning actually, I went outside to do yoga. I had a lot going on this morning, but I wanted to trust myself. I'll be in on time, right? I know what's right. Just trust yourself, and don't rely upon the machine to say it's 9:44. This session closes in 16 minutes. Ugh. I'm feeling kind of salty today. So I really appreciated that one, Brightness. That's fun. It's very good.
Awesome. Well, what did you think of the exercise? I love what you put.
Yeah. I mean, I love these kind of like lightning, just right what you're thinking in random little thoughts.
Stream of consciousness.
It's a kind of stream of consciousness to fit into the stream theme that Brightness brought up. I mean, there's, could probably have conversation for hours about trust, and there was some good stuff that was in there. I loved the idea of allowing yourself to hold and be held. It's like, do I trust this person enough to hold me, to be held by this person? There's a lot that we could go into. So it was a good little exercise.
Yeah, thank you for that. I guess trying to think of the next question. I have a bunch, but I know we have limited time. Well, I guess what's the difference between when we talked about trusting ourselves and trusting the flow. When it comes to trusting others, what's the difference between blind trust and earned trust? Where do we practice both?
Well, I think one of the things that I put in the chat actually kind of goes to that. I trust that when I say something, I will live up to it, and I trust that, or expect that others will do the same. That, if I will trust somebody, they will earn that trust if they keep their word, so to speak. I think that's one way of, looking at earned trust. blind trust, sometimes I think we all sort of fall into it. We sort of fall into this idea of like, there's a bright, shiny object. It might be a person in front of you who is like, you know, kind of amazing in some shiny kind of way, and you jump into a relationship with that person, and all of a sudden you realize that was not what I thought it was. I don't really trust that person. Um, and chances you might relate to that. um, so, yeah, I think that, there's lots of ways in which we fall into blind trust. So I don't know. I have to think about it a bit more, but I'll let Chance jump in.
Yeah, I can go deeper on this. I didn't answer this at the beginning, kind of because I didn't want to derail us, because it's very like deep for me, this relationship with trust. So I'm putting in the chat here. We're actually in the growth garden right now writing a letter to trust. And so if you would like to write your letter to trust, Paul, as you think about it and want to go deeper, maybe with some poetry perhaps, you can do that in the doc here. And I've been writing on this for a number of days, just kind of slowly constructing this letter. And it got really personal for me, because what I've come to realize is that trust is one of the most core parts of my being. I'm just an inherently trusting person. And I believe the best in others and everyone, even Trumpian level ass. Like, I could see what could be the best of them or where the worst comes from, which is an exercise in compassion and all that kind of stuff, right? And so a lot of my letter to trust is around gratitude. It has served me so well in my life and building relationships. It's probably why my wolf is there, right? The wolf pack and loyalty and all that stuff. But I actually really appreciate this question, Brightness, because it's a reminder, and it's lo and behold, that made an appearance today with the bridge troll. Sometimes you can trust the wrong thing, right? And so, as we look to become regenerative philosophizers, I suppose, right? If you want to get good with trust, it's being able to distinguish the difference and to see the red flags that are there. Now, I will say right now in this moment, I've done a very strong assessment. And because of some of what I've been through the last few years in regard to that, I'm a lot more careful and thoughtful. And so right now I have a lot of trust in those that I've chosen to trust and believe in and support. And so that's really special. I have one other thing, but I'll stop there. I'll work that in my closing, I think.
It's so interesting that you talk about the wolf and trusting. It's like, I think about my animal of tiger, and tigers are very wary. They're not very trusting at all.
Yeah.
And I think that I have, oftentimes been overly cautious and overly careful. And that, yeah, but I think that has also served me well sometimes. That, there's a tendency to kind of check the bullshit factor before I jump into something. So the tiger has served me well in terms of that wariness sometimes.
Thank you guys for that. No, I definitely agree. I want to highlight what Baz said here. I would say trust is also a choice. Either you truly trust or you don't. And it's a decision on how to live, not because of what others / the world shows you, but because you want to live trusting. And then also she put at the bottom saying, for me, trust is really tied with hope. And I do see that. I do feel that with I agree, because I think by choosing to trust someone, especially if you don't know them that well, don't trust. It depends on the situation, of course, but let's say someone you're just starting to work with, you need to trust that they are there for the good reasons and for the best reasons. You have to trust that their behavior, their actions will show who they really are, and instead of just where I think when like before I was in therapy and stuff, before I'd be like, okay, first show me you're a good person, and then I will bring down my walls, and then I will come out of like my shell, bringing it back to my alter ego. But now I'm seeing, oh no, I really should have that hand out. And if they show me that they're not the most trustworthy person, I'll know what to do in that situation. I'll trust myself to handle it in that by putting boundaries or whatever. But you need to start having that open hand. At least that's how I've made the connections that I've made, and have been really great connections, just because I've had that open hand, being like, let's not assume the worst. Let's be open, but why don't we try expecting the best, Yeah.
Just throwing some loving kindness on you as we weave Wisdom Mountain into the into this. It was just a really wonderful, like, personal bit of like wisdom and clarity and advice and guidance all in one. That was powerful. I love that. And vulnerability. There's some vulnerability in there too, and trusting us with that is nice.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. Did you want to say anything for the last 7 minutes, Chance?
Oh yeah! How interesting is it that we went so deep? We traveled so many places on this mothership, and yet we come to an end, and it's like, oh, there's like 5 minutes left. We're not over time. Though I could very easily spin us into a conversation we could sit in the rest of the day. I could do it. I would do it. No, I wouldn't do it because I'm going to see some of you in an hour, and we're going to keep going in different places. We got to go further into the Wisdom Mountains actually. Yeah, what to say? I mean, I think I actually would love to step into the tree of or out onto a branch of the tree of transparency and kind of celebrate the growth and progress of the viridescent mothership in what you just did there, Brightness. That was awesome. I think this is my favorite. I don't think. I know this is my favorite Wonderland session we've ever done. And it's because I don't know, it's interesting. There was someone recently that I trust and that trusted me to share this with me that shared a little bit of like envy and jealousy towards me, and like, why can't I do what he's doing when it came to like the vision of the Viriverse. And it meant a lot to me that person was willing to say that, because that's a vulnerable thing to share with someone. And that allowed me to be a supportive mentor back to that person. I want to do that right now and say, like, how did I not see this? What you just did? How did I not do something? And it is what the Viriverse is, but you made it so your own and so like organic, and it's a dream come true for me to see that happen. So not jealousy, but just that note of like, wow, how did I not think of that? Oh, it's like, oh wait, this is the whole point of what we're doing. Oh wow, the brightness is incredible. And Wonderland is now exploring and wonder and curiosity and going to all sorts of new places. And oh my God, it's happening. The collective intelligence is growing. So it's just, you talk about stream of consciousness and the emotions attached to it. Stream of emotions. Yeah, just a peek behind the curtain or the shell of the mothership to say like, yay, well done, and thank you. And when we go to Wonderland, you're the pilot, and we're along for the ride, and it's fun and deep.
Yeah, I'm going to echo that. I thought this was an amazing session, and congratulations, Brightness, because I think that you obviously thought this through really well, and you knew exactly where you wanted to take us, and you took us to some really great places. And I learned some new things about you, because oftentimes you're quiet and you don't say a lot, and so to see you step into this role was really amazing. So yeah, some words of loving kindness for you for that.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And I definitely appreciate it because I mean, I loved it because it allowed me to be creative. And I really do feel like my element is being creative while also bringing change and bringing, making and helping the world be like change for the better. So I really felt like in my element here, and I wanted to, you know, explore the Viriverse more. I wanted people to know more about the places. And so I'm really glad you guys enjoyed it, because it's not my element to lead, but I'm very grateful to be here, and I'm very grateful for Chance for trusting me with the Wonderland Mothership. So yes, thank you guys, and thank you for allowing me to do this and for space for
So you're a regenerative leader, whether you are willing or able to say it or not. But I think kind of building upon that, the things about this human mycelium idea for this year, and like my goal of being of service to the wider Viriverse, is that one thing leads to the next, to the next, to the next, and it's all interconnected, right? And so thinking about like in my space of being a regenerative leader for us as an altar business, as a community, is that this is such a big deal, what we're doing here with you hero guiding this, because it allows me to let go of it. One of the reasons we don't go organize travel around the Viriverse is because I'm too busy like constructing and envisioning and imagining a lot of it, and also living it and all that too. So you're like improving my own well-being, you're growing, Paul's growing, the witch is growing, and oh so much more. So I think I could go on a lot about that, but I just want to ask a simple question. Do we go into the political realm via Wonderland next month, or is that a separate thing, its own thing? Because I could see the merits of both.
I can see the merits of both, but I almost want it to be a separate thing.
Yeah, let's protect Wonderland.
Yeah,
Perhaps.
yeah.
Keep that Trumpian level ass out of here.
we prefer that, yeah.
Yeah, but well, and you know what? Your voice kind of leads on this brightness, because Wonderland is the space that the brightness occupies the most right now. So, okay. Well, that's cool, because Wonderland is a realm, actually. It is the same classification as the political realm. It just happens to be called Wonderland instead of the Wonder Realm. So we're gonna travel to the political realm for the first time, and it's overdue. It's time. I'll be in touch.
All right.
And we'll see you all in Wonderland in a month.
And
on the Discord.
See you in an hour.
And in an hour. Yes! Paul and I we're going to see each other every day for 8 days.
Yeah.
8 days. Bye, everybody. Love you all.
Bye,
8 days a week.
8 days a week.